Hi, my name is Kaylani, and today I will be going through my Emaze about Erikson's psychosocial development theory and social-emotional development in infants and children. So an overview of what this presentation will encompass. First, we will go through an overview of the theory of psychosocial development. Then we will explain the stages of that theory. And finally, we'll have a good amount of slides for social emotional development and explaining what that is and what that encompasses. So first, we have the overview of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. His theory was influenced by Freud's theory of psychosexual development. However, Erikson focused more on societal and cultural factors. He also proposed that personality changes throughout one's lifespan versus it just developing in childhood and then remaining the same throughout a person's life. This theory claims that development is driven by a series of crises that one experiences throughout their lifetime. These crises represent a battle between individual needs and societal needs, and there's two routes that it can go. A successful resolution of the crises will lead to a development of a virtue, whereas a failure to resolve the crises leads to a negative outcome that can impact further development. And it's important to keep in mind with the stages and negative outcomes that it is important to have some failure in life. Failure in life teaches us skills such as modesty, self-control, humility. So within reason, we're going to fail sometimes, but it's this balance of positive, negative that we're looking for. So moving on, the first stage is from the ages of birth to 1 year old. The crisis experienced in this stage is trust versus mistrust. So babies are uncertain of the world around them and look to caregivers to help support them. If these babies are able to develop the sense of trust, then they gain the virtue of hope, where if you trust people, that you have that hope that they'll help you when you need it. However, if infants at this age are not able to develop the sense of trust, then they might be fearful or suspicious of others' intentions. Stage 2 occurs from ages 1 to 2. The crisis involved here is autonomy versus shame/doubt. So in this stage, children begin to explore their independence through walking, playing, eating, etc. And parents need to encourage this independence. So if they do encourage independence, then children gain independence and they'll be confident in their ability to do things on their own and try new things. However, if parents hinder a child's development of this independence, these children might develop shame or doubt in their abilities. Stage 3 occurs from ages 3 to 5. The crisis here is initiative versus guilt. So in this age, children need to interact and play with each other, and they develop the ability to lead each other and ask questions about the world around them. So if children successfully learn to initiate things, then they will feel a sense of purpose with their actions and their decisions. They'll be comfortable with asking questions and being curious. They'll have the sense of purpose. However, if children's curiosity is squandered, they may learn to feel guilty for trying new things, and they'll feel as if they're annoying others. Stage 4 occurs from ages 6 to 12. The crisis here is industry versus inferiority. So in the ages of 6 to 12, children are in school where they need to learn certain skills and information. Also during this time, children begin to have the urge to win approval from others by demonstrating their competencies. So if children are in a healthy environment, then they can develop competence. They'll feel encouraged and competent and confident in their abilities. However, if a child feels discouraged, then they will begin to doubt their abilities and may not reach their full potential. Stage 5 occurs from the ages of 12 to 18. Here, a child is becoming a teenager, and the crisis is identity versus role confusion. So teens are beginning to look toward their future and are starting to analyze their role in society and where they fit in. They're also trying to figure out who they really are in preparation for adulthood. So in this stage, if teens are able to figure out who they are in a healthy environment, then they will develop comfortability in their identity and they'll be able to see themselves as unique. However, teens may experience feelings of unhappiness and rebellion if they feel like they have nowhere to belong. That's the negative. Stage 6 goes from 18 all the way to 40. Here, the crisis is intimacy versus isolation. Young adults begin exploring long-term relationships and commitment during this time. If these young adults are able to find these relationships, then they develop love. They're able to feel love and spread love through these healthy relationships. However, if they cannot form healthy relationships, then they may feel experiences of isolation and unhappiness. Stage 7 goes from 40 years of age to 65. Here the crisis is generativity versus stagnation. So in this age range, adults have a career and are settling down, they're raising a family, they see themselves as part of a bigger picture. So they feel a sense of purpose through raising their children or being productive through their career. And a successful completion of this stage results in the virtue of care. When adults feel like their lives are meaningful, they develop a sense of care for others. However, if this stage isn't gone through correctly and adults feel like they're not leading a meaningful life, then they'll feel unproductive. They feel like they're wasting their time. And finally, stage 8 goes from 65 years and older. Here the crisis is integrity versus despair. So here seniors are exploring their life as a retired person, and they're contemplating on their lives, and they're deciding if they've lived a satisfying life or not. If they do feel like they've had a satisfying and productive life, then they'll develop a sense of wisdom and they can accept death when it happens. However, if the senior feels like they lived an unproductive life, then they may feel a sense of despair and dissatisfaction with the time that they've had. All right, so those were the stages, Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. Now moving on to social-emotional development. Now we're taking a lens at just very early childhood, infancy, toddler, and preschool level. So overview. Social-emotional development encompasses both inter- and intrapersonal processes. So reminder, interpersonal means your ability to recognize other people's emotions and understand social situations amongst other people. Intrapersonal being that you can understand your own emotions and your own motivations. So in order to develop this social emotional skill, young children need responsive caregiving in order to maintain that healthy development. So essentially, responsive caregiving is that they can trust that their caregiver will consistently and responsibly care for them, changing them, feeding them, everything that you need to do to ensure that your child has a healthy development. And emotion and cognition are interrelated processes. In this sense, they work together to guide decision-making and learning. So this is really to highlight the importance of healthy emotional development in children, that emotion and cognition go hand in hand. So interactions with adults, children develop the ability to both respond to adults and engage with them. And children use these skills to interact with less familiar adults. So if a child is comfortable talking to their parents, then it's safe to say that they're going to be comfortable talking to their teacher on the first day of school. And interacting with adults, children engage in a wide variety of social exchanges. So relationship with adults. So close relationships with adults who provide consistent nutrients strengthens children's capacity to learn and develop. Nurturance, sorry. Infants use relationships with adults in many ways. So relationships help reassure that they are safe. They help provide assistance when they're distressed. They help for emotional regulation and for social approval or encouragement. So with all of these benefits of having a relationship with an adult, a child hopes to gain emotional security. In that sense, a child feels that they can express themselves and explore the world freely without judgment. Also, maintaining these healthy relationships with adults helps the child develop their sense of self, which is the way that they view their purpose in the world. If they have this encouragement from adults, from others, then they'll feel like they have this purpose in the world. Interaction with peers. So interacting with peers provides the context for social learning and problem solving. Social interactions allow infants to experiment with different roles in a group, and these interactions are primarily important because interactions are stepping stones to relationships. You need to interact with someone before you can develop a relationship with them. Which brings us to relationships with peers. So relationships with peers provide young children with the opportunity to develop strong social connections. And then there are distinctive patterns of friendship for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. These patterns vary in the number of friendships, and the stability of friendships, and the nature of interaction between friends. So this is just to say that between infancy, toddler, and preschool ages, what a friend is changing. So now we have the identity of self in relation to others. So social emotional development includes an emerging awareness of self and others. So children become aware of their roles in their family and become aware of their own preferences and characteristics. Also important to their development is this recognition of ability. So infants develop a sense of self-efficacy, meaning that they develop an understanding that they can make things happen and that they have particular abilities. So think of it as a sense of competency. And this competency can be seen in child's play or through their I statements if they say, oh, I'm good at drawing, or oh, I like this. It's that they're developing this understanding that they can do things and that they have skills. Now we have expression of emotion. So children express their emotions through facial expressions, vocalizations, and body language. Especially temperament plays a role in a child's expression of emotion. Temperament being a combination of mental, physical, and emotional traits. Also keep in mind that cultural factors affect children's understanding of the meaning of emotions. For example, in some cultures, crying is more acceptable than in others, or being upset is more acceptable than others. Expression of positive and negative emotions play a role in the development of social relationships. So positive emotions appeal more to social partners, whereas negative emotions lead to difficulty in social relationships. In this sense, the overwhelming majority prefer positive affective. So when something is affective, it's something that describes something that has been influenced by emotions as a result of emotions or expresses emotions. So we generally want the positive affect. Empathy refers to the ability to experience the emotion or psychological state of another person. This is very important to strengthen social bonds, and pro-social behaviors illustrate the development of empathy in young children. So sharing, helping, comforting. And it's important that young children can see adults being empathetic. We have emotional regulation. So this is the interrelationship of emotions, cognitions, and behaviors. Adults can provide positive role models of emotion regulation through their behavior and through the verbal and emotional support that they can offer. And this is important because how well a child can regulate their emotions plays a role in how well they are liked by their peers and how socially competent that they can be perceived to be. And then we have impulse control. Impulse control helps children adapt to social situations and follow rules, and this refers to their voluntary control over behavior and their ability to follow social expectations. And then lastly, we have social understanding. So this is pretty much an infant or toddler's ability to understand the responses, communication, emotional responses, and actions of other people. Very important because humans are inherently social creatures, And this is just, very important, social understanding.